Recording going. Oh, here we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to, I pushed the button and I didn't even know I pushed the button. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Live Magic Q&A with me, Madame Pamita. I'm your host. Every week we come here, we meet online live. And if you are watching this on YouTube or some other weird place, Lord knows where this shows up. If you're seeing it someplace as a recording, you are cordially invited to join us live. We meet here every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It's a free session where you get to come in and you get to ask my guests and myself questions about magic, spirituality, divination, you name it. We cover it all in the realm, of course, of like that stuff that we do, that spiritual work that we do out in the world that you're doing for yourself. If you're doing spell work, any of that stuff, healing, cleansings, shamanic work, whatever you're doing on that realm, between me and my guests, usually we have somebody that can answer your questions. So you come in and join us here, join us live so you can ask those questions, all those millions of questions that you have online for me. Madame Pamita, how do I do this? Come to the Q&A and you can ask it and we can answer it. And we can give you really great answers. And not only do you get me answering it, but you get my amazing, amazing guests answering and sharing their beautiful knowledge with you as well. And it's all absolutely free. It's something that doesn't cost anything. You can get in here and have a good time with us. Not only that, but you have these amazing other people that are in the clubhouse with us, and you can build friendships and meet other people. You know, they're like-minded people. I love to see in the chat when you guys chime in with other suggestions or ideas about questions that people have and support one another in that way. And it's just such a beautiful thing. So don't hesitate. Come on in and join us. How do you do it? You go to spellsquad.com. So it's SPELLSQUAD.com. That'll send you over to the Parlor of Wonders site where you can sign up to be on my newsletter. And what you'll do is you'll get an email right away that'll have the link, but you'll still get the reminders every week of who my guest is going to be. You'll find out all of the information. And then I always throw out tips and tricks and other things about magic that come into your email box. And you get a book, a free ebook too. I mean, it's all kinds of goodies there. So be sure to do that. You'll find out about this session and you'll get the links to join us in the clubhouse here. So I want to tell you a little bit about, let's see, what else. Oh, this is what I wanted to show you. Before we get to Lisa, I wanted to show you one thing, what is going on in my house, on my altar. I am working on look at that. I'm working on a hearth altar and doing hearth magic. That's my 2020 magical working for the year, is working with the hearth. Hearth is a really, really ancient magic, really beautiful magical place to access spirits, to access your ancestors, access goddesses and gods. I mean, I did like a ton of research before starting doing this work about, I knew about Vestia and Hestia and Vesta and all the goddesses that are kind of the European goddesses, but you look in every single culture and there are hearth goddesses and sometimes even hearth gods that are there as fire spirits, as our ancestor spirits. And so this is amazing, powerful work. I'm doing work on the new moon. And if you want to find out more about this work that I'm doing, there's a simple way to find out. Go on to Parlor of Wonders, go into services. You'll see candle spells, new moon hearth service, and that's where you find it. So Parlor of Wonders, services, new moon hearth service, and you can read more about it. You can see a little video, and right there you can see the work that I'm working on for the month of January, for the new moon in January. Next one is going to be opening up, is in February. It's going to be a beautiful healing heart spell for reconciliation work, for healing a broken heart, for any kind of healing heart work in that Pisces new moon. Such a yummy time to do that work. And that will be opening up on February 8th. So February 8th is when that opens up. And then I'll be doing it on the new moon. So February 8th is the full moon. That's when the sales and the reservations open up. And then the work will start on the new moon in February. So, all right. So without further ado, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our amazing guest that we have today. Our guest is Lisa Martinez. She is so knowledgeable, so amazing, so big-hearted, so loving. She's a board-certified doctor of natural medicine. She walks a traditional healing and spiritual path of Curanderismo. I always say that it seems like that's a real mouthful for me. It's really hard. I want to say good. Thank you. Thank you. I feel like redeemed a little bit. Like last week when I was announcing you, I was like, Curanderismo? No, I said it totally wrong. Like I was like, oh, I couldn't do it. Curanderismo. There we go. It's a lot of syllables for me. So it's what she describes that path as being is a multifaceted blend of healing practices from the past and the present that include indigenous folk medicine modalities from Mesoamerica to Africa. And it's strongly influenced by Spanish spiritualism and Judaism. So her family roots in particular, we're going to talk about that, are from northern New Mexico and southern Colorado, where curanderismo was and still is an enriching and common way of life. And that's where I met her. I met her in Denver. So not southern Colorado, but is it? I don't think Denver's southern. Is it, Lisa?
No.
But
very central.
It's central. Her grandmothers were her biggest influences, providing her with a lifelong apprenticeships. These teachings led to the development of her sacred connections with plants, with stones, and with spiritual practices that are used to help others in their journey to emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual healing. She does hands-on healing. It's in-person healing, working with ancestors, saints, angels, guides. And she's also a doctor. You're also a doctor. Let me just bring you on and show you everyone you and your amazingness. And you're also a doctor in doing therapy, right? Psychotherapy or
I'm a registered psychotherapist.
Yeah.
So yeah, in Colorado, we have really cool options with registered psychotherapy.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Yeah. I like calling you Dr. Lisa. Is that okay? Yeah. Is it too much like Dr. Phil? I don't know.
I had a couple people say that to me recently. They call me Dr. Lisa, and I thought, oh, wow, that's really okay. Yeah.
I like Dr. Lisa because it's like, it's friendly. It's your first name, but it's extending you that kind of respect and honor and, acknowledgement of the hard work that you did to get that doctorate and all the study that you've done, all the work that you've done. And I just think you earned that, girl. You should be using that title.
Thank you. Yeah, I need to practice using it a lot more.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that when you do work hard for it, you don't realize that alphabet soup has a different weight to it.
Yeah.
So I do need to get more comfortable with it. So
yeah,
we'll own it.
All right. So why don't you tell everyone a little bit about like what your practice entails? Because you gave a little bit in your bio, but I think there's so much richness to it. So like, what is a typical teaching? I know you teach workshops, you offer services and do all of that. What would the typical sort of, let's say the smorgasbord of offerings that you do for people?
Yeah. So curanderismo is really considered almost like a health system because we do everything as a body, mind, spirit. So if we're looking at somebody as a whole person and they're having physical pain, we're going to look at their emotions as well, and we're going to look at their spiritual health. So when we bring people in for a session, there's a lot of intuitive conversation that goes on with the body. But really it's about connecting with, you can refer to them as your guides, your anchors, your holy ones, whoever it is that you work with in your practice, to guide your hands, to ask your ego to bow to the divinity of your spirit. Because I don't do the work, something far bigger and greater than me does the work. I'm just there to help, channel whatever it is that the individual needs. So it's really very spiritual in nature. We do a lot of limpia work, so a lot of spiritual cleansings. Those are really about helping people release trauma, some, bad luck. Mal ojo is about, evil eye. I do a lot with PTSD. In our traditions, we call that susto, the fright of the soul. And, if we look at it from a clinical perspective, that's PTSD or serious trauma. Do a lot of altar work. I do the 5-needle ear acupuncture, the NADA protocol, which fits beautifully in curanderismo because you can make it a very spiritual experience for the individual. The psychotherapy comes in. So in Colorado, you don't have to have a degree in psychotherapy as long as you can prove jurisprudence. Because if you support people on a journey that is looking backwards, looking at their past experiences, any traumas in the past, you're going to go really deep. And so it's a way of us saying, I'm doing this work and you can check on me anytime to make sure that I'm following all the rules. My training was with Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes, and our focus was on Jungian psychotherapy. So I do a lot of the soñadora work, the dream therapy work, and then lots of post-trauma, lots of grief. I do a lot of grief work.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it's not, it's not light work. You know, everything that we do in Curanderismo, people don't come to see us because they're having a great day or having a good time in their life. People are coming to us because they're wanting to heal through difficult situations. So it's a process, and it's definitely a journey. You're walking with a person. There's body modalities, there's the spiritual modalities, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
So, you know, I'm listening to this. I mean, I'm like thinking as you're saying this, how our culture doesn't really address and serve. Well, we look at everything very compartmentalized. And I mean, our culture, I mean, Western medicine, American, which is basically white people culture, right? American white people culture.
It's American.
Yeah.
It's American.
But when we look at that, what our systems are that are in place, they're coming from that. They're coming from there, right? So when we look at that, I think about how everything is very compartmentalized. You're going to a therapist to deal with your emotions. You're going to a physical doctor to deal with your ailments. You're going to your priest or your rabbi or your whatever to deal with your spiritual stuff. But it never do those three things intersect. Mm-hmm. And yet even science is discovering that those things are so you cannot separate them. And so to have these like weird little specialties where people are only dealing with those things, I think is an odd way to approach something that is so systemic. Like your perfect example is PTSD. Is it a psychological thing? Kind of, but is it a spiritual thing? For sure. Is it a physical thing? There's physical aspects of the manifestation of that fear. So looking at those as separate things seems so artificial. You know, I would say call it artificial, right?
Right. Yeah. If you were to live in Mexico, you would definitely spend all day at the clinic, meaning you would be treated by multiple curanderos or curanderas who would look at your physical, they would look at your emotional, they would look at your spiritual. You would be given herbs, you would be given a body protocol, and then you would come back for the next treatment. But it's all encompassing and it's a full experience. In the United States, we don't have clinics that are set up that way. But if you were to see a private, like a curandera, you would definitely get very similar protocol, very similar treatment. There's specialties. Some curanderos or curanderas only focus on the spiritual work. Some only focus on birthing. Some only focus on herbs. Some are doing the consejera or the counseling work. But generally, you're going to get a group that can be very, very encompassing of all of that.
I love that so much. Are you ready to jump into some questions?
Sure.
Because we have a lot of questions already, and I want to make sure that we get to them. And people have a lot of questions for you, which is so great because you have I can't overstate it to you guys here in the clubhouse with us, how knowledgeable, how loving, how generous Lisa is. She's amazing. Dr. Lisa is. And she is a font of amazing, deep, deep wisdom. And so us having her here with us is a very big gift. And I want you guys to take advantage of that gift. And I want you guys to get your questions in. So you can start typing them in, but we've already got a bunch of questions. So I'm going to read them off. And then, you know, if it's something that's for both of us, you can start off. And then if it's something you're like, I don't know, you'll pass it on to me. So here's a question that's kind of a question that's about a more material thing. And maybe you'll have an insight into how to apply your spiritual practice to more material stuff. So Ren has a question. I'd like to work up a spell, so some kind of magic for more Instagram followers as it translates to more business. I would love some suggestions to build my followers to 10,000. I have lots of different colored candles and a skull effigy and lots of other tools. So looking at that bigger picture of like, how do we build a prosperity, or how do we build a following or attention on that? Is there something in your practice that could help with something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really big on writing things out when it comes to this type of work. I write out, I would, in this particular case, I would have a picture as if it were my profile picture on Instagram and the number of followers next to it, and I would write it out as if there were already 10,000 plus followers on there. So I would say my name, Eats Papa Lotl, 10K followers. I would write my bio in there, and I would have like a pretend link. But then I use a lot of herbs and oils on that paper. So I use maybe follow me, or the success oils, mastery oils, the herbs with open road, a lot of those that come with prosperity, the chamomile, the different things like that. And then in my tradition, we do a lot of wrapping and sealing. So specifically, if you don't know what color to use, you would use a white candle. We use red for a lot. Red is a protection color. It's a sealing color. So we would wrap it with red thread, and then we would seal the edges with the candle, and then you would put that on your altar and then burn now a fixed candle with that. Setting your intention, the alignment of your thoughts and your emotions are critical.
Yeah.
That is a huge part of the work.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. When we, this is a very interesting thing. And in fact, I just had a question and a direct message on Instagram with someone who is like, I don't feel comfortable with my worker. Is this a good person to work with? And I know the person that they're working with, and I think the person that they're working with is lovely. But if you yourself don't feel comfortable with that person, then that's not a good match for you. Like if your level of comfort, it's the same thing that goes into, if you don't believe that the work will work, don't bother.
Right.
If you don't believe in a candle is going to shift that situation, then why bother? So the beautiful thing you had in your working right there is having that printout of your account with your number, because seeing is believing. If I see it in front of my face, I'm going to start to build that belief and stoke that little flame of fire. It doesn't mean you have to be at 100% max belief. You can have 98%, 90%. I would even go with 50% belief. Being skeptical is not a bad thing. But if you have 0% belief or 0% faith in something, then you're starting on a very shaky ground,
Right.
And that beautiful thing that you said is like really that I often say that same thing. The foundation of your practice is your thought. If you can't get to the good thought, then don't even bother with the candles and the oils and the packets and whatever you're doing, because that's not going to do the work for you. They support your thoughts. They don't do it for you. So,
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So, that was a lovely spell though. And that's a great one for you to do and try at home, Ren. Steven says hi. Chris says hi. Maya says hi. Good evening, Pam and Lisa. Zach says to you, Senora, what advice, I love that. What advice do you give? And it's respectful too. He's being respectful, which is a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Or we should say doctora, right? What advice do you have for someone who wants to learn the medicine, but has little to no access to a teacher, curandero?
Yeah. I get that question a lot, and it's really hard because our medicine is so limited, and many of us don't have our medicine online. And part of that is because we're still dealing with transitioning into the modern world. I came from a group of old school teachers that did not believe in taking pictures, that did not believe in posting anything online. And they're changing their belief, they're changing their process, but we still have limited material. So my recommendation is, if you go to, I will have to remember the name of it. There's an online school that's free that University of New Mexico contributes to. University of New Mexico has a 2-week-long curanderismo experience that anybody can go to. You can get it to receive credits for it or not. They have healers that come in. Coursera, thank you. I was just reminded it was called Coursera. They bring in traditional healers from Mexico, and they work with the traditional healers locally. So the first week, you're going to get Southern Colorado and Northern New Mexico and Middle New Mexico practitioners, herbalists, shamans, curanderas of all different types. They have the mezcals, which is the traditional sweat lodge of the curanderismo traditions, the Mexica tradition. Then the following week, they bring in healers from Mexico, from Guatemala, from Peru, from all over the place. They've even brought them in from Africa. And that brings in a whole nother level of experience. Once you participate in that, you can create a whole network of individuals in person, because this medicine is really important to learn face to face. It really is. And all of a sudden, the curanderos and the curanderas in your area will start to come out of the woodwork. It's surprising. They will, because once you step into the realm, you've opened your heart to receive, and they will come. They will. And maybe they're going to be an hour away, but we're everywhere. We really are. And so start with UNM, go look at that, and go look at Coursera. They have examples online, and you can start to build those relationships. They're also on Facebook.
Coursera is spelled, I'm putting on, I don't know if it's .com, but it's spelled like course, like a course.
Yes.
And
perfect.
then ERA at the end without or I guess it's course with an RA at the end.
Yeah. And you just type in curanderismo, and you'll see Maestra Rita, my son and I have learned an experience with her, Maestra Tonita. There's many of them, and we love them all. They're amazing.
Oh my gosh. What an amazing, phenomenal resource. That is so gorgeous. And I think you brought up a very interesting point, which is, I think that I'm going to say from my experience, my ancestors' bones are rattling and saying, girl, you need to get information about our magic out there. And that I'm sure that that your ancestors' bones are, and all of these, to pass it on one-to-one is for sure the way, but we need to make it bigger because the world is so in need of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think
it's true. And they're getting more and more comfortable with it. Our elders are saying, Mijita, turn on the video. They're saying to turn on the camera, record this, or we need to get this in spoken word, or they're starting to come into the world of recognizing this is now the new way.
Yeah.
The things that I hesitate to put out there are the things that cause people to go really, really deep, because you need to have somebody with you as you journey. When you start learning curanderismo, you're the first person who heals in the work, period. And to have support is really important. So there's a lot of teachings. We can learn about the Aztec pantheon. We can learn about the Mexica directions. We can learn about the warriors of the directions. We can learn all different things. But when we're talking about some of those super spiritual, sacred experiences, journeying in different things, it would be inappropriate for me to send people off into the realm of the internet to say, here, go do this journey. And then if they have an emotional experience, not have support that's with them and up front.
Yeah, I agree. I think you have to have foundational stuff, and not everything is appropriate to be shared. I think kind of, we see, I'm going to say something maybe a little controversial. Maybe you tell me if I'm stepping out of my lane. But I see people doing plant medicine without a preparation for doing plant medicine that is spiritual. They're kind of almost recreational about plant medicine. Right. And I feel like, I feel uncomfortable with that, you know?
I agree. No, I don't think that's controversial at all. I think that's fact. I think that absolutely. Plant medicine is there to support us, to help us grow, to reveal, to look at those shadow things that maybe we don't want to look at. They're there for that. But you do need to have foundation, and you do need to have support.
Yeah. I think that it's, it's like I'm learning more and more as I deepen my practice myself too, about reverence and respect. Reverence and respect, a big thing. Reverence and respect for your teachers, reverence and respect for the materials that you work with, and how, like things like as simple as a fire. How are you because I'm thinking about fire because that's what I'm working with now. Like, how do you treat the fire? Are you just throwing your garbage in the fire? That's not respectful of that fire. You're not respecting the fire if you're just throwing your old paper in there or whatever. And you need to treat these elements with the respect for understand. That's like when it comes from when you understand them, you will start treating them with respect. And if you don't have that understanding, that's that foundational thing that you're talking about, that awakened awareness of like, oh, I don't throw my trash in the fire, because if I throw my trash in the fire, I'm disrespecting the fire. Right. Or if I don't understand the foundations, how can I respect the plant that I'm going to receive that medicine from? The spirit of the plant. You're not respecting the spirit. You're almost dominating it or making it your servant. The plant is not your servant. It's not your servant. No.
My son just recently taught a class, Samuel Nez, by the way, and that is a plug because he's amazing.
He is amazing.
He is amazing. He taught a class recently on fire cupping, and that was one of the things that he told people. Building the relationship with the element is critical and important because it's there to move the energy, move the medicine, do these things. However, not given enough respect, it will burn you.
For sure.
Right. And so in people's faces, it's real. It's a real thing.
Yeah. So it's not, I think it's starting to realize that these things are not our servants. They're our allies. They're definitely our allies. And I've always called plants and beeswax and these things that I work with our allies, but they're even our teachers, and they should be treated with that respect that you would treat that teacher, and not as it's never a servant. It is not your slave. It is not your servant. No. And if you do it that way, you're either not going to get anything from it. You're not going to get it there. It's not going to give its juice to you in whatever way it gives juice, or it's going to, like you said, it's going to come back and bite you in the ass. So.
Right. I like how you said that, like, Yes.
It is definitely an thing. So. All right, we got these really lovely questions. I want to get as many as possible. Nina says, hi, my cat passed away last night. Oh. How can I connect with him? How long will his spirit be traveling to the other side? I bet you, Dr. Lisa, know some stuff about this.
You do. Your kitty's already with you. Already. It's like they take their last breath, their energy, their spirit separates from their body, and they're present with you. That journey, there's no time, so it's interesting to describe it. In the Mayan work I do, it takes 9 days, but I can't speak to that for animals, so I don't really know. But my thought is that it's pretty rapid. I think in myself that they're just divine, and so they don't have to journey the way we do. I feel like it's a pretty instant, boop, I'm here, check this place out, it's amazing. But his presence is already with you for sure. Yeah. You just check in and it's there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that humans with their human consciousness, the burden of that is that the journey from into life and out of life is it's a transitional period. Now it can happen. Sometimes I don't think that there's a one size fits all answer for like how that
Okay.
transition happens. It depends on the person, how many lifetimes they've had, how much practice they've had. You know, if they've had multiple lifetime, many, many, many lifetimes, they're going to be like, oh yeah, I get this. I've done this before. But if you look at like, I think I've been fascinated with the doula concept. Not that I'm a doula in any respect, but I think doulas have an understanding, whether they're spiritual doulas or physical doulas, of a process of coming into physical reality and leaving physical reality. It's not an on-off switch. It's a process. So we see little babies who are very much in the spiritual world coming more and more and more and more into the material world. And we see our elders as they go into as they go into their passing, if they go in a slow way. I mean, I'm not talking about somebody that dies in a car accident. They're going to be very compressed in that process, but they leave the physical realm and start more connecting with the spirit. So that's why we have somebody on their deathbed seeing their relatives, seeing visions, seeing things, hearing things, because they're partly in the spirit world. They're 1 foot in the door and 1 foot out the door, you know. Has that been your experience too?
Yeah, actually, very much so. We sat vigil with my grandmother for 3 days and 3 nights, and the experience was profound. My dad actually just passed away January 1st. And so we've been working through that, but his process was very quick, and yet it was very clear that the ancestral portals were wide open, and the process was still very beautiful. I mean, you could see the connection, and it was really incredible, actually.
Yeah.
So
I was with both of my parents as they passed. My mom, I was awake for my dad. I went to sleep and he passed in the night, but still seeing that process. But I think that people that have a traumatic death, even that can be like, you can see it just a super compressed version of that. It's just going to take place in, 15 minutes or 20 minutes or half an hour or whatever it takes them to pass. But then in our elders that have illness or something like that, where they're really extended, that you can see them going, I'm ready to go. A lot of times they're saying they're ready to go. They make their peace with it. They start to see that spirit world, and they're half in, half out. And sometimes they drift in and out and come back and forth too, which is an amazing thing to see. But I agree though that the animals have less resistance than people. And so they're going to have that more immediate, like, oh yeah, I'm fine. I'm good.
right.
So yeah.
Right. We have 9 underworlds that we have to go through. And so when you talk about the person's journey as they're transitioning into their afterlife, if you will, we can go through some of those 9 levels in our lifetime. Some of those struggles are about how we interact with people, how we interact with ourselves, those processes. And you can read about them in the Mayan traditions or in the Tibetan Book of the Dead or the Egyptian Book of the Dead. They talk about those journeys. That's what we're seeing in that process as people are dying.
Yeah.
So animals don't have that because they're here with us, loving us, doing what animals do. And so, yeah, they get to do the Rainbow Bridge experience. Just bloop. Lucky.
I know. I was just going to say, I'm going to come back as an animal in my next life, so I can just go on the Rainbow Bridge. And
right.
Fabulous. So Nirvania has a question. I would love to have suggestions for giving thanks for a blessing and work for success in career. So kind of 2 questions. How do you give thanks for a blessing? What's a nice way that someone could give thanks for a blessing, and how can they do some work for success in career?
So for the first one, I have a couple of suggestions depending on who you made your request to. If you worked with a deity or a specific energy, in my traditions, we give physical gratitude ofrendas, we give offerings. So for some of for St. Michael, for example, you might give rum cake or a pound cake with rum, some sprinkles of gold, different things like that. You're going to give them an actual food offering or flower offering or fruit offering. Also, If that isn't your way of doing things, which is completely okay, one of the most wonderful experiences or teachings that I ever received was a long time ago when I was really little, is that these gods, goddesses, energies are not human. They haven't had a human experience. And so to gift them our human experience is one of the most amazing gifts. So if you're out and you're having a good time and you're laughing, you can consciously connect with that energy, that deity, and say, I'm gifting you this moment. They will receive your laughter, your tears, your gratitude, whatever it is. When we give to another individual out of just our heart with no expectation for anything else in return, that is another way of giving absolute gratitude for a blessing that you've received. It's almost like a pay it forward in a way, but yeah, constantly. That's something that I was always taught, is that we should always be in a state of giving. And then when we have something extra special, you step it up a notch. They get extra cool cake. The better chocolate, that kind of thing.
Real gold sprinkles on top of
Yeah,
that. No,
exactly.
no fake stuff.
Right. So, and then the work for success in a career, this goes back to similar as the 10,000 followers. This work, it's one of my favorite types of work actually, is with career. For example, if you're applying for a new job, again, you're going to write your name and title and office number and location on there as if you already have the job, and your salary. And every single time I put a number on there for salary, that number comes because you believe you're going to get it and you believe you deserve it. You do it in gold and in silver, lots of embellishes in filigree writing, everything in black as you write it out, but then the money, write it in gold, write it in silver. I seal those particular works with gold and silver candles. Madame Pamita may have a different suggestion for that, but still the same. Lots of oils, prosperity oils, success oils, open road oils. And again, I put them on my altar and I ask the energies, the deities, the anchors that I work with, and tell them why that having that job is important. We deserve to be successful. We deserve to be prosperous. But we also have to take it next level. We have to be able to say, because this is in alignment with my personal mission. This is in alignment with being able to support my children through college. This is in alignment with being able to help my elderly parents. Whatever it is, I think it's important to back it up, not just with because I want it, because I think it's a great idea. Why? And tell them, and they can help feed that. At least that's
I love that. I have a kind of a twist that I would even do, and it may be just me coming up with my maybe it's me watching too many Instagram videos, but I do you ever see those like videos they have of people doing sealing wax? Have you ever seen those?
Yeah.
I would say get some gold sealing wax and get a seal that has some kind of money thing, and then you could be putting that seal on stuff and doing that. It could be really yummy and make it really, I don't know.
We should have that in our spiritual magical toolbox, period. Everybody. Yeah. We need to get one.
I have a kind of a goofy sealing wax collection and sealing wax colors, and I kind of like go like, wow, the thread wrapping and then sealing it with sealing wax would be amazing, but I've never done it before, so I'm kind of like, oh, I want to try that one.
That's a great idea.
And that sealing wax is such a great it really can look so good, and if you can get it in gold, and you can get it in these fabulous colors, and you can even color it with a gold pen, or like if you have another color, maybe you have green because you want to have that really growth and that prosperity in green, and you could put gold paint pen on top of it. So there's a lot of things you can do. Just go watch some YouTube videos or Instagram videos of people just hashtag sealing wax, and you'll get some inspiration.
Yeah, really. And all the herbs that contribute to feeling confident and successful, all of that is important.
Yeah.
Whether you put that on an offering plate or in your bundle, it's up to you. There's no wrong way to do it, and I tell people that all the time. We in Curanderismo, we say there's no way to mess up a prayer. It's the same. There's no way to mess up your good intention.
Yeah. Lisa, you and I are two peas in the pod. I'm constantly telling people, in fact, my book that's coming out, I have a candle magic book that's coming out in October. And the way I wrote the book was the vast majority, not every single book, but the vast majority of books that are out there about candle magic are recipes. Take a green candle, do this, do that, do this, do that. But that doesn't empower the person to even understand why they're doing that, right? They don't know why they're doing it. They're just following a recipe in the book. So my book is breaking down why we do these things, what they mean. So it's like, oh, I want to add color magic to my spells. So now I get to think about what color I want to use in my candle that will help my spell. Oh, I want to do numerology magic in my spell. So I'll think about the number of candles I'll have in my spell, and so on. So that it gets the deeper concepts of how these recipes have come to be, so that you can break down a recipe that someone else has done and say, oh, I see what they're doing there. But the most important thing is you can write your own recipe, which is when you understand the principles underlying these recipes, then you can make your own recipe. You're not a cook that's following a recipe or opening a box of Bisquick and making pancakes. You're actually understanding how the cooking works, so that if you decide you want to go off in a very different direction, you have the power to do it. So I am 100% in agreement that there is no one correct way. You take that way and you add to that very, we want to take the wisdom of our ancestors and the wisdom, but then you can, when you get experienced, you can adapt it. And 100% behind you on that thing of that you cannot screw up a spell. You're not going to, people say, is my spell going to backfire? If I do a love spell and I do the wrong thing, I light the wrong candles in the wrong order, does that mean that person's going to hate me? I go, if you totally screw up a spell, I mean, you do something crazy, wacky, wackadoodle thing, all that's going to happen is nothing's going to happen. You're going to be exactly in the same spot that you started. You're not going to make things worse. So even those things about the fear that people have around, like, oh, I had a bad thought or I had a fearful thought. It's okay. Let that thought go and get back on track again, because it's your intention that powers it. It's the engine. That's what makes it go. But these other things that you add to it, you can be a little easy about it. Sometimes people get very nervous about it, right?
Right. And to be really, again, in Curanderismo, they tell us often, and I think it's true in many traditions, if you don't have a candle, if you don't have any herbs, if you don't have all these fluffy ingredients, what you have yourself, you have your voice, you have your intention. You can sing this into reality. You can move your hands and make a vibration of sound. You have so much ability. You are the magic. It's here. It's in you. Yeah. And so the tools, they're nice and they help. But if you have nothing, you have you.
Exactly. 100%. I say the same things. We're the same person. I say the exact same thing. It's like the power of your words is so important. The power of your thoughts is so important. Those other things are there. I call those things our support team. Yeah. Like if you have those, great, because then you've got some extra support. If you're a little wobbly in your intention, oh, I want a lover, but I'm not going to get one. That stuff will keep it going, even if you're a bit wobbly. That's how I view it. But if you don't have it, do you not do a spell? Oh, hell no. Do a spell, but you can do it with your words, saying something out loud. That's why an affirmation, we now, the kind of new age thing is a spell or incantation is now an affirmation, but those are incantations. Those are power words. Those are things that you're creating, you're putting out there, and you're bringing them and making them manifest, right? Right. Through your words, right?
Yep. And actually, so I wrote a journal submission for Ritual Craft. And I talk about this, aligning your thoughts and your emotions together when you do your manifestation. So there's a reason why they teach us that.
100%, 100%. So powerful. So Nazi had a question. What can I do to get more business, more clients? I think we've talked about those things that you've talked about before could definitely be applied to getting more clients. Just apply it. Again, this is where you do that. You don't have to do the formula. You take that formula and you apply it to your, write down how many clients you want to have. Instead of writing the dollar amount, write down how many clients you have, what kind of client you want to have, right? So I want to get to the next one. Tracy has a question. Hi, is there any advice, because I know this is one that Dr. Lisa can answer. Is there any advice you can give to help someone with addiction? Let's talk about addiction.
Yeah, this is a really powerful question, and we get it all the time. I get it often. There are, gosh, I don't know where to begin. So I think I talked earlier, or maybe I just was when Madame Pamita and I were talking before we went live. There's a 5-needle protocol that's called NADA, N-A-D-A. It's 5 needles acupuncture that go into the ear. And you think, well, that's very clinical. And it's true. However, there is a very spiritual component to it, because one of the ones is the spirit gate that we use. When this work is combined with the way that this NADA protocol is done, is you sit in a room with individuals who are like-minded, and you can experience a very beautiful, profound, incredible support system that will help you build your spiritual practice as well as support you in addiction. In Curanderismo, we do a lot of work with the meridian body, and we really do focus on the areas of addiction that have to do with your spiritual and emotional health. Partly because when we're in an addictive state, we tend to not mature at the regular rate that individuals who are not in an addiction state do. So it's important that you look at where you are with anger. We address the liver when it comes to anger. It's a place where we hold anger. We look at our lungs because it's a place where we hold sadness. We look at our heart. We also look at our kidneys, because in addiction states, we're very fearful. We're afraid of things that are going to be taken away, things that we might not ever receive, things that we believe that we need. So from a spiritual perspective, you can touch all of the organs in your body and move forward in a way that is at your pace, that you're comfortable with. And there's also a time for plática. And plática is the heart-to-heart conversation. That's exactly what that is. It's about talking about what's on your heart, what is happening in the world around you. And sometimes we get stuck in the rut of ancestral trauma when it comes to addiction as well. We're looking at, my grandfather was an alcoholic, my dad was an alcoholic, my grandmother was, whatever it is, and releasing some of those traumatic patterns. I'm a really firm believer in a lot of the 12-step programs because I've seen them work so successfully. And I believe the reason why they work successfully is because of the spiritual component. So am I going to say that candle magic is going to work for addiction? Nope. You have to do some work. You have to do some actual work. The candle magic can support you. Herbal work can support you, but you have to be willing to look within yourself and look at the deep stuff.
Yeah.
So any of the traditions, whether you're working with a magical individual, a curandera, or anybody like that, you're going to have to look inside. Nobody can do it for you.
It's very interesting in my observation with my clients and clients who are dealing with addiction and clients who are dealing with loved ones with addiction. Mm-hmm. A lot of times what I get the vision of is that it's a very interesting concept. It's a concept that comes, that I was introduced to through Buddhism, which is the concept of the hungry ghost.
Yeah. That's exactly what I said. You're speaking my language.
I'm telling you, we're the same person.
That's exactly the words I use, hungry ghost. Yeah.
So the concept of the hungry ghost is that there is I see it, this is how I see it, as a place in the heart that is never satisfied. It's like a vacuum that keeps sucking and sucking and sucking and sucking. So if that heart is insatiable, it can look in many different areas for a temporary hit of satisfaction, which can be, we have some socially they range from socially unacceptable to socially acceptable. So we have things like drug addiction, which most people would look at as socially unacceptable, or alcoholism, which people would see as socially unacceptable. But then we get to some places in the middle, like sex addiction, or then we get into greed, which is kind of sometimes admired, that greed and that insatiable desire for money, or power, or fame. I look at, I'm not going to, can I call out a famous person? Is that all right? I might be a jerk. I don't know. But I look at someone like Madonna, who is I see within her a constant need for validation, for external validation, right? I need to have a constant fan base, and I'm not going to let go of my fan base, and I keep needing to have more and more. But the problem with the hungry ghost is it's never satisfied. Mm-hmm. You can look at Jeff Bezos and Amazon. He is a bazillionaire, right?
Right.
Does he need more money? No way in hell does he need more money. But why does he keep seeking it? Because the hungry ghost is never satisfied. So he could have all the money in the world. You can have all the power in the world. You can dominate everyone. You could be Hitler, you could be Twitler, you could be any of these people that are doing these more socially acceptable things, but it really comes down to that hungry ghost. So we have the part that we condemn people for, which is like things like drug addiction and alcoholism. Some that we think, well, sex addiction, it really isn't. Not, sex addiction, it sometimes is admired. Oh, you're Wilt Chamberlain, you had sex with 10,000 women. Wow, you're amazing. That's a sex addiction, but it's something that's never satisfied. So we look at the hungry ghost, and people, when they start to recognize the hungry ghost, I think that that's a huge breakthrough, that they see that there is this, that no amount of alcohol is going to solve the problem, no amount of this. And when they start to have that awakening, then they can start to address the true thing that will feed their heart. It's not an unsolvable problem. The true thing that will feed their heart is self-love. Mm-hmm. Oh, it sounds so simple. It's the easiest thing in the world to do self-love, right, Lisa?
All right.
Yeah, Lisa's like in agreement. Like, yeah, sure it is, lady. It's one of those things. It's like simple to conceive of, but very challenging to master. And even I would say spiritual masters who are trying to achieve those things are still always working on that self-love component. We all are working on it. And we get, the further along you get with it, the easier it is to quiet that hungry ghost. So we all have a hungry ghost of some kind inside, but is it running rampant? Is it really, and is it doing something that's socially acceptable or admired, or socially unacceptable? So these are the concepts that I sort of talk about when I'm talking with clients about their addiction thing. And you have those amazing tools to deal with that hungry ghost, right?
Yeah, we do. We have a lot of really cool tools to deal with the hungry ghost. Yeah.
I mean, it is about just dealing with that deep, that your divine connection, your self-love, and realizing the divine child that you are. And the more you get into that, the quieter that hungry ghost gets. You're never going to really, I don't think there's a person in this world that doesn't have, even the best spiritual teachers, even the highest, best, brightest spirits are going to have some of that ego that's involved with a hungry ghost. But we don't want it to let it run rampant and have control over our lives or destroy our lives. We want to have it be quieted. We're not ever going to, we're going to have to make peace with it, don't we? I guess, really.
Yeah. And I think one of the important things is that we never overcome it in 100%. And I think you kind of spoke to this, but people are really hard on themselves when they're feeling that lack of self-love all over again, or we have that moment where we think, really, I thought I worked on this already. Why am I feeling this self-loathing and all of this that's going on? It's always in cycle. And each time our button, whatever it is, our heartache button, our fear button, our hungry ghost button, whatever it is, can be touched at any time. We could be losing a job. We can get divorced. Our kids could move away. I mean, there's a variety of things that could happen. We have to be gentle with ourselves. We have to give ourselves grace to say we're not starting over. We've just had the button touched and it's okay. We'll move forward. And sometimes you just go back to basics. Sometimes you have to go back to the cheesiest of basics. And I really do feel that way because I struggled with it for a long time. The sticky notes on the bathroom window that say, you are whole, complete, and wonderful. You're beautiful. You are smart. You deserve to exist. All those things. You know, sometimes those are the basics. They really, really are. Reminding yourself that your inner child deserves to be comforted, deserves to be played with, deserves to be fed, deserves to have whatever it is that makes it feel comforted. A warm, fuzzy blanket, your favorite soda. I mean, we're talking about every once in a while just really feeding that inner child and saying, I love you and I got you and it's going to be okay.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. That's so beautifully put. And I think those basics, and you say they're cheesy, and I think that they, you know what? I don't think they're cheesy. No judgment at all. I don't think they're cheesy at all. I think that there's some things, I call that course correction on your compass. You know, your compass
Yeah.
gets out of whack. You got to, you know, bang that compass. And sometimes those very basic things of affirmations that you say to yourself and the self-love that you give, even as simple as looking in the mirror, looking at yourself in the eyes, and like looking at yourself and telling yourself, I love you. That sounds like such a cheesy thing. It sounds like it's people go like, that's lame, Madame Pamita. Like, what? That's so lame. But you do that, and if you really do it, it's profound. So those simple things can be quite deep. It doesn't have to be complicated, you know, this, that, and the other. It can be very, very basic and very simple to get you back into that place of that self-love that is the thing that will quiet down that monster, you know?
Yep.
Well, we have Jill says, Dr. Lisa has beautiful, loving, caring energy.
Oh,
I agree, Jill. I agree 100%. Stephen, who is a dear client, he said, darn, this is interesting. I have to go to dinner now later. Well, Stephen, no worries. You can watch this on YouTube later on. I'll be posting this later on this week. Nina says, thank you. Nirvania says, thank you. We've got Tressie says, thank you. The Hungry Ghost actually explains quite a bit, and definitely he has a lack of self-love. Yep. That's it. And I think that you know, having all of those modalities that Lisa talked about, the platicando, I don't know what you were calling it. Having that along with the, you know, the other modalities that help to support all facets of the whole person are so beautiful, really beautiful, and can be really helpful. We have one last question, and then we're going to go. Do you want to hit one more question, and then we'll sign off? Nina says, I want to get my degree in psychology. This is another question. I'm so glad you guys came up with these amazing questions for Lisa. She's such an amazing resource. And I'm glad you got these questions because I'm curious about these. I want to get my degree in psychology to help people, but I still want to also incorporate root work or divination, but I'm so new to it all. How can I incorporate both?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's yeah. So what I find in the psychotherapy realm, actually, it has helped my intuitive work more than anything. And I think it'll probably be the same with the psychology component, is that you will be able to, for lack of a better way of saying it, cut through the bullshit, because people hem-haw around a lot when they come to see you. Sometimes they're incapable when they're really working on something super deep. So when we're talking about some of this, the addiction piece, or maybe they're wanting to heal through trauma, but they're not getting to the root of the real issue, that psychology and that psychotherapy, I find, comes in massive, because you can have you'll be able to see the visual cues, the body cues, the facial cues, and you'll be able to help people get to a place of just, you know, the facts. The other thing is that there's a magical component to it. I can't give language to it. I can't describe it, But the mental health components that come into it they're really very magical. And you just, you're going to have to trust that when you get there, the intuitive component is really, really deep. It goes so deep that I don't even know if I can describe it. I'm not at this point, I'm like rambling, because truthfully, it is seriously, I pull on those details in a way that I can't, it's not textbook. It's magical, but it makes sense, and it will apply in your conjure work and your root work and in your divination. One of the most amazing experiences I had was learning the tarot from a psychotherapy standpoint, connecting to them from an archetypal level. That made an incredibly profound difference on how I work with people, because I can see what they're playing out in their life. Are they on the fool's journey? Are they on the hermit journey? Or where are they? And I can pull that into the work. So, I mean, psychology is like way big. So, you'll do it. You'll figure it out. They come together, I promise.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. I think there's practical aspects that I've had a couple of clients that have been with me who are like, I'm a therapist and I want to incorporate this, and I'm feeling fearful or nervous about incorporating a magical practice. But the truth is that you have your protocol. I suppose there's a protocol, but you're also going to be highly intuitive. The best doctors, the best medical doctors, the best therapists, the best whatever have awakened into intuition. I mean, if you think about like the medical doctor that's like, yeah, your symptoms look like this, but I'm going to run this test because I have a feeling it's something else. And then they find the solution, and that is their intuition being activated. So I think you're going to be able to, as you go down that journey, probably learning both as you go along. If you already know about root working, you already know about divination and all of that stuff, then you'll be able to slot that in. And if you don't know about it, you can just kind of bring in both as you feel drawn probably to each area that you want to explore, right? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree?
Yeah, I do. I absolutely do agree. I think they don't, it's like a stepping experience. Like one pops in as you need it, and then it feeds to the other one. Like you're having a psychology experience, and then you can see how it applies to a divination work. And that's the magical component of it, is science is magic. It really is. And I see it go both ways, and they talk to each other. And there are spiritual and emotional components to mental health that is a whole nother series. That's a whole nother talk show. That are incredible. So I think it'll be amazing. I'd be excited to know more about Nina's journey.
Oh my gosh. Well, Nina says, Madame Pamita, this is so aligned. I remember you said I did a spirit guide reading for her. And she says, I remember you said my spirit guides released doves. I remember that because I said it was like the Olympics or something. There were these doves just coming out. So, and then she says, and then you brought on Dr. Lisa. You're the doves. You're the Olympic dove release. That's what you are.
Beautiful. I think it's going to be amazing. It's going to be a powerful practice. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That is for sure.
Yeah. I think it's like, be bold and follow that heart that you have for doing that work, because it's needed in this world. And everybody's version. I mean, that's the message I get from the spirit guides all the time, is that we each have we're each meant here to help build the web of connection between all of us. And once you do that authentic work for the good of those around you, I mean, whether it's just one person near to you or you affect the whole of humanity, it's all affecting the whole of humanity. So each client that you meet, each person that you serve, you're going to bring, Nina, your own particular unique take on it that's going to be different from Dr. Lisa, that's going to be different from that person over there. So bring that beautiful piece of the puzzle, because that piece of the puzzle can only be filled by you. That's the truth. I mean, there's no other Dr. Lisa. When they made you, they broke the mold. So that's it. We get Dr. Lisa, and we're so blessed to have her. So tell everybody where they can find you online. I know where they can find you, but you tell everybody where they can find you.
Right. So I can be found on Instagram. I'm Eats Papa Lodel 74. We can type that out in here. I'll do that here in just a second.
Yeah.
I also teach at Ritual Craft. So if you're in the Denver area, Ritual Craft is in Denver, and you can see all the different classes that we post. I work in collaboration with my son Samuel, who's Sam's in 812. So we both post about each other's work often. My website's not up yet. I keep trying to get to it. And I do private sessions locally. And I have a magazine article coming out soon, which I'll post about on Instagram, and the journal entry on Ritual Craft as well. So,
and I also would say, if there's anybody out there that builds websites and maybe wants to do an exchange with you for something, right? And then you don't have to learn how to build a website.
I bought it. It's out there. I just haven't filled in all the blanks. I need a secretary too. So
anybody needs
right? No, I have a day job. I work at a university locally, and I do my spiritual work as it's a work of love. So I do it, on the weekends and in the evenings with individuals. So
yeah, I'm always willing. It's very interesting because I'm always willing to do trades with people. If I have a need that they can fill that need, I'm always willing to do that trade and have that. And I think, if somebody, because I don't want to learn how to do that, whatever that thing is that I need somebody to do. I'm like, I don't want to do that. Can you, let's do trade. And, it can work out very well. So maybe somebody out there will watch this video and you'll get your perfect person that will come and fix your website and make that happen. I think I wrote it, Nate. It's ITZPAPLOTL.
Yes, beautiful.
And you can find her if you go onto my Instagram, Madame Pamita. You can find it because I've just made a bunch of posts with her recently. So you can find that, and you can just go on there and then follow her. So thank you again so much, Dr. Lisa. Are you can I ask you a question? Was it a good experience?
Yeah, it totally was.
Would you come back again?
Of course, yes.
See, what did I tell you?
I was super nervous. So yeah.
Well, she didn't need to tell them that part. Oh. She was really like, I feel really shy. She's like, she's so humble and so giving and so humble. And she's like, I feel really shy about it. And then it's like, I'm like, oh girl, these people are so good. So the Spell Squad are just nothing but a bunch of love bugs. You're going to get amazing questions from everybody, and you're going to have an amazing time. And guess what? I'm a psychic. I predicted it right. You did have an amazing time, didn't you?
I did. Yeah. Oh yeah, look, we got a spell correction. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Notice my own name.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everyone in the Spell Squad, for being here. I want to thank you all. I want to thank Dr. Lisa for being here. You're amazing. We are definitely going to have you back again because, like I said, you are a deep well of amazing knowledge, and we've only just taken a sip out of a shot glass, and we need to really drink deeply from that well. So what do I have going on what do I need to say before we go? I think that's it. Next week, I'm going to have a guest, although I haven't updated my calendar, so I don't know who my guest is going to be. I'm so sorry, you guys, but we will be here, and there will be a guest. Even if the guest is myself, myself, and I, I'm always here. So I'll see you next Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And we'll have an amazing guest. I don't know who it'll be. It'll be a surprise, but it'll be a good surprise. And I want to thank Dr. Lisa again for coming on. And hopefully we'll see you again sometime soon. I'll be hopefully coming to Denver. I might be coming to Denver for INAT, so maybe I'll see you then.
Oh yeah, of course. That's where we go.
Yeah, and then for sure we'll have you back on again to talk more, because I feel like there's so much more we could talk about.
Thank you.
Thank you guys in the Spell Squad for being here. I love you guys so much. I love you guys so much. You are so lovely. You're always so lovely to our guests and make them feel so welcome. You guys are awesome. Thank you for coming. We'll see you next week, hopefully. And in the meantime, have a fabulous, magical week, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.